Hello, everyone. Welcome to Lockbeard Phenomena number 21. What is a Nain Rouge? It's Saturday, December 4th, 2021. I see Mr. Lee is here. Welcome. The Bat Mom, Uncle Bones, Judy Wheeler. Welcome to everybody. I assume that you've all heard of this thing before. Stories of it go back to Native American tales, although there's connections to Europe because Europeans moved into that region, and I think that they tainted the story or the descriptions of these things to an extent. But they seem to correlate with these dwarf-like people that have been seen in many other regions or reportedly seen. So, there's no, as far as I know, there's no concrete evidence that these things exist. So what is a possible explanation? Let's assume that, considering all the tales, that maybe there is something, and that people have seen. So what is it? Judy Wheeler says, I'm traveling to Blytheville, Arkansas to see the Christmas lights with all the kiddos. Yeah, I see all the Christmas lights going up all around. It seems like I haven't seen as many of them as early as in previous years. So maybe people are starting to get sick of it as I am. I don't think people should start Christmas decorating until after the previous holiday is over. After Thanksgiving. But the stores start having Christmas stuff in, like, even a month before Thanksgiving. Sometimes I've seen. It's kind of getting ridiculous, but it's become this commercialized nonsense. So what are you going to do? There's Michael Haywood. Welcome. So this thing is described as a kind of like a dwarf in general. That's reddish in the face. Sometimes black hair on its body. Although there is this one account that says it had white hair on its body. So did these things that these people saw truly have a hairy body, or was it wearing a fur? People see things, and a lot of times they are mistaken about what they saw. I think it's possible that the thing is real, if it's real, and people describe it with a hairy body. Maybe it didn't actually have a hairy body. Maybe it was wearing furs. It's described as a human-like but short creature. So why is it so? It's not unreasonable to think that it might hold on a second. That it might wear clothing of some kinds. Usually, how long does Thanksgiving last? Well, it's it's just one day. But we usually everybody is off work for the Thursday and Friday, and um a lot of people will take their vacations kind of surrounding that to get an extra long vacation because they're already off for Thanksgiving Day and the day after Thanksgiving Day, which is Thursday and Friday. Seems like a lot of people start decorating for Christmas like that weekend after Thanksgiving Day. That's probably a reasonable time, I guess. Um, I don't have any particular care for Christmas, so if nobody did anything for Christmas, I probably would like give zero fucks. These babies love it. Yeah, I know. I know. It is kind of neat. Sent to Badger the host. I'm thinking that's Polly. Welcome. Hopefully no one actually badgers me tonight. I don't want to any negative shit tonight. Let's just we don't need it. And some people have expressed extreme displeasure in some of the shit that's been coming down in my chat. So yes, sir. Thank you, Polly. I'm sure you'll have a few wisecracks though. Lockbeard inside, tired of trying to make you laugh, not here to bust balls. Bust the balls. Yeah. So okay, this little person, some people, you might think maybe it's a kind of gnome, maybe it's kind of goblin, these other types of little often thought of as mischievous creatures or spirits. So I don't know how do I approach this? What I want to do is kind of explore the possibility of what's within the realm of possibility that could explain sightings of this thing. I mean, it could be as simple as there's just this it's just a tale. It's a cultural idea that just cultural ideas, they spread like a disease and infect people, and when people get these get ideas in their head, sometimes their brain makes them see something like that one day. But which could apply to Bigfoot and all kinds of stuff. But this particular one, this whatever it is, it's from the Detroit, Michigan area, and the natives, specifically I think the Ottawa tribe, spoke of these things, and they were kind of a protector of nature to them. The Europeans got here and they started seeing them. I'm sure they heard the stories from the natives. So assuming they just weren't infected by these ideas from the natives, and then sometimes their minds play tricks on them. But as we know, when Europeans got here, they didn't always behave very respectfully of things. They certainly didn't respect the beliefs of the Indians in a lot of cases. Let me go back to chat here. Damn it, Paula, you got me? Yeah. So how long after the holidays festivities can you resume witchery activities? Mr. Lee, I think you can never stop your witchery activities. You can do that all you want. I mean, if you know the history of Christmas, I mean, think about this. Well, it's about the time of the winter solstice and stuff like that. So what had happened is the church, they are in the business of converting people, right? Because they are, wealthy and powerful and have control, and you gain more of that by convincing people to join your little club, or you force them to somehow, or you trick them to somehow. So what they did was, place their major holidays around pagan holidays. So Easter, was the witch's holiday, or a pagan holiday of I think it's, I don't know how it's pronounced, but it's spelled Oester, as I recall. Christmas, is around the solstice. Christmas being the Christian holiday for, the birthday of their Messiah. But in the Bible, if you, were paying attention when you in Sunday school, he was born, according to their story, according to the varied accounts, 4 of which they included in the Bible, and a number of them they chose to discard because they didn't like parts of it. You people need to study religious history, damn it. You've been manipulated, I'm telling you. And like I took a course once in college which was called the Gospels, and it was, this preacher taught it. But there's no way around it. We had to learn, the books of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, which are 4 tellings of the story of Jesus, and they don't agree with each other. Things don't happen exactly the same in those 4 stories. And that's just the 4 that the church put in the Bible. They didn't include everything else. They didn't include the other accounts. But anyway, Jesus was born in the lambing season, which is, spring. It's not the middle of fucking winter. Now look what you did, Mr. Lee. I went off on this a little, probably offended a couple people. Sorry, but you can check this stuff yourself. Julie says, Badger, hello. My dad dealt with badgers most times, running them off. He'd say that is no animal to mess with. No. I was thinking, who would choose a name like that? Up to 50 accounts, Polly. Yeah, he's probably just changing his name. Judy, absolutely a little fun poking from my last slide to spread a laugh and break the ice. Just green names. Where's a good one account? Danny's here. Welcome. Greetings from South Carolina, he says. Good laugh. Form of chat works well. Judy says, never lose your sense of humor. Greetings from Badgerville. Harry Man Hoaxes and Hoodwinks is here. Yeah. I don't think I don't know if the subject of Nain Rouge would ever make it. I mean, you're primarily Bigfoot, though. I don't know if you, because you name it Harry Man, I don't know if you would expand out into things like this, but I mean, some accounts do describe him as hairy. He's just a little hairy man. mischievous, according to some accounts. But Danny says witchery activity is not recommended during Christmas week. They hang you for that. Oh, damn. I don't know if they still do that, man. Sandra's here. Welcome. Mr. Lee says Nain Rouge. He's been seen many times. Yeah. I'm gonna mention some of those accounts here shortly. Maybe I should go through some of the talk about those before I start theorizing about. Theorizing is not the appropriate term, I don't think. Hypothesizing about potentially what it is if it is real. I always thought Jesus was born in April. Yeah, that would be far more appropriate according to the biblical account. Not Christmas, though. That was the church's attempt to appropriate pagan holidays and, get pagans sucked into their religion. I mean, it was straight up, and that's underhanded. That's dishonest. It doesn't. It's not good PR for the church. Danny says, that's what I was hinting at. Just didn't think no one would catch it. I don't know which part you're referring to. You're talking about the, the lambing season thing. Yeah. So the so-called Native Americans, and damn it, one of these days I'll break out my damn tribal membership card and hold it in front of you all to prove it, I guess. As a tribal member, I do not apologize. I shouldn't have to say that. I do not apologize for calling them so-called Native Americans. They were not the first people here. That is a goddamn fact. And if anyone's willing to take the time to look into it, you will see that that's a goddamn fact. Many of the tribal governments are actively trying to hide from you. They don't want you to know that they don't actually have they're not the First Nations, and they're not. That's a proven goddamn fact. There are bodies, there's DNA evidence, there's artifacts, there's linguistic evidence. I'm probably missing some of the evidence. There's an amount of evidence that proves that. And as a tribal member, I don't have any. Who cares? I don't care. What I care about is the truth. I am not scared of the truth. Some of my ancestors viciously murdered, other people, just like the Europeans did, just like every racial group on the planet has done. Everyone has done some killing. Because that's what humans do. Humans kill each other. We're good at it. We seem to like it. So nobody should be freaking offended by what I just said. It's just the fact of it's just a fact. But anyway, I'm getting off topic here. So the Ottawa tribe, I guess it was, Detroit area. They didn't call it the Nain Rouge. I don't remember what they called it themselves. That's a French name. It means red dwarf. Anyway, they had stories about this going back, before the Europeans got here, and that they were some kind of spirit people or something, and they were protectors of the nation. They were protectors of nature. They were a positive thing, but Europeans get here, and as they do, they want to try and demonize. I think that's why the thing is depicted as it looks like. People wear costumes and stuff as they're supposed to be Nain Rouge, but it looks like a devil, right? I think that's been that's an attempt to demonize them. But let's assume this thing is real and it was a positive thing. and it was meant to be something that was respected. You didn't piss it off, but and as you, if you look at some of these accounts, and even today, there's people talking about, don't piss it off. You want to show respect to this thing because it might do something to you. But yeah, they were there were positive things in the Indians, but some of the Europeans didn't show some freaking respect, and so the Europeans got here. They started to see these things on occasion, and they tended to be present during or before or after destructive events, battles, and I think there was a blizzard was one of them, and stuff like that. And they're thought to be a bad omen. Now I would argue that just because you see, I don't know what a good example. I used to have a good example, but just because you see buzzards eating on a carcass doesn't mean they killed the thing. Just because you see firemen around a fire doesn't mean the firemen started the thing. People driving down the road, they rubberneck, they see an accident and they want to look, same thing for, major, a battle would have been something interesting to watch for a for a lot of things, I would think. And if these things are real, and if they're real, I would say that they almost certainly would have to be a branch of human, right? It would take a long time to kind of go into why I reason that things like Sasquatch are actually a type of human, a race of humans, and so on. The gnomes and stuff like that, I would say, also fall into a similar category. But that's a whole nother thing that I can't remotely do justice to. It would take a long time to address that. So anyways, I would reason that these things may not be the cause of these bad events. They're just showing up to watch. Like that battle, the bloody. I'll have to look at it here somewhere. There was a battle. Anyway, I'll talk about that in a little bit. But the guy who founded Detroit, his last name was Cadillac. 1701. He was having a party, and according to the account, a fortune teller showed up with a cat on her shoulder, and she read his palm, and she said that it was his destiny to start a great city, which came to be, right? I mean, it's, so, it's hard to determine, well, did this story actually exist before the city, or did someone come up with this story to, later, so after the city started, it's, you could easily see how someone might have made it up. But if this did occur before the city, that's interesting. But she said that this city would, there would be bloodshed and bad things would happen. And she told him to, show some respect to the Nain Rouge. Don't piss it off. That because anyone that angers the Nain Rouge, they thought would meet a bad end. Um, well, he didn't pay much notice to this prediction, and he created the city. And one night he was out on a walk with his wife and overheard some men complaining about the city. Um, uh, One of them had seen the Nain Rouge apparently and thought it was a bad omen. And he just thought it was funny, but soon after that he saw it. Apparently, he said it was a dwarf-like creature with dark red fur, red eyes, um, crooked teeth, stuff like that. And he hit it over the head with a cane and told it to get out of here. Well, that's not. That's just going to piss off the Nain Rouge. I mean, if I see something like that, I'm not going to go hit it over the head with a cane. But that's what he did. And he said it laughed and ran off. After that, Cadillac's life did not go well, and he died, broke. I guess he didn't his children didn't inherit anything from him as a result. Let me catch up with chat a little bit here. I'm sure I've fallen way behind. Yeah, a little bit. Polly T has switched his name again. Judy says lights and decorations are incredible. Humans, yep. Mr. Lee agrees with the humans thing. Taking pics, Judy says. Polly T says, great point, Lockbeard. The truth first and foremost always. Also, humanity is flawed by design. We're made to learn from the wrong way, and some just can't accept that. Judy says, Chickasaw, then Choctaw Highway. Choctaw is my tribe, by the way. Although I do have Chickasaw blood as well, and Cherokee. Battlestar Galactica. What? I don't know what you're referring to there. Yeah, respect the Nain Rouge. So some damn. Yeah, there's no reason to disrespect it. Patrick Vaughn's here. Welcome. Now we can really get going. Good debate with Jorge, or Ogre as your moderator was kept calling him. Paulie T says Ben Cartwright feel there a portal on the Ponderosa and wound up on a starship, dropped his cowboy duds for starship gear. What in the heck are you talking about? Little Joe was a Cylon. You said battle. Oh, gotcha. No, not that battle. So I'm caught up in chat. So there was other accounts, like there was a farmer who saw it on his roof trying to spook his horses or something, and looking in his windows and stealing his chickens. And there is an encounter with which was on July 30th, 1763. There was a bunch of British troops were going to launch a surprise attack on some rebels, Native Americans. And it was called the Pontiacs War. It was named after the Ottawa chief Pontiac. Anyway, it was insane. Civilians killed, prisoners killed. It's just a lot of times the British were just complete assholes, like, unnecessarily assholes in war. But there's plenty of that to go around. So, anyway, this battle was called the Battle of Bloody Run because when it was just so it was such a bloody battle. I mean that the creek, Parents Creek was called. They said it ran red with blood, and anyway, there was the Native Americans outnumbered them, and they were ready. They weren't surprised at all, and the British were repelled, and I guess the captain, like they cut his head off and paraded around with it on a stick. But eyewitnesses there said that they saw the Nain Rouge on the banks of the creek before the battle, which I guess they must have been taking. I mean, how do you know he was waiting in glee? Because that was one of the phrases that were used in the account, I guess. But anyway, he was, I think he was just possibly just there to watch. I mean, how can you say that he caused the situation or even knew about it ahead of time? I mean, if these things are around and they're watching this, I mean, he had to know that there was war going on, and I mean, they planned this battle, so these things are hiding around. Surely they can overhear or see what's going on, or see soldiers mobilizing. It's just, it's just a leap to say that the thing, that's some mystical thing, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So I'm portraying the possibility that these things are just a people that stay out of sight. Now, in a little bit, I'll start talking about some things that some people would call magic, but I don't know how else to portray. To me, it's not. Go back to the idea that to a less advanced people, a more advanced people might seem magical just because they don't understand. They don't have the knowledge of how they do the shit that they do. But some of the witnesses, I guess, said that the Nain Rouge was dancing among the corpses and wading in the blood stained waters and stuff like that. Now, if those are true, I mean that's pretty strange. But if he's pissed off that these people are here and they're disrespecting the earth, and he's a protector of the earth, well, maybe he was glad to see them die, or some of them die. Everybody didn't die, but plenty of people died. So fast forward to the Detroit fire of 1805. I guess he was seen around that time. For the days leading up to it, that he was reportedly seen by a number of people, and some claim they saw him dancing in the flames when it happened. So now, if this thing is just a normal people, normal, how is it going to dance in flames? So we'll entertain that in a little bit. I don't want to get to that part just yet, but we'll entertain that in a little bit. Why would, if they are just a people, how is it able to dance in fire? Assuming that those witness accounts are true. So fast forward to the War of 1812. General William Hull supposedly saw it in the fog, in this, grinning. Everybody describes with disgusting teeth. Everybody describes it as having these kind of jagged, gross teeth. Which, of course, Hull was executed for military incompetence. So that would continue to for people that think that this thing is an omen of bad things to come. A situation like that would feed that idea. But again, what if it isn't that it was an omen of anything? It was just there to see the show. Again, if there's a train wreck, people gather around and look on. They just do. So what? Maybe this thing is no different. Let me try and catch back up in chat here. Oh crap! It's moving now. Yeah. Bellstar, can you tell us about the Chickasaw and Choctaw? They're two of the what they call the 5 civilized tribes. It's kind of a offensive thing to say, because the other tribes might be like, so what, are we uncivilized? What, you sons of bitches? Who called? But that's what people at least used to call them. I don't know that people do that much now. That's what we were taught in school. But they're two of the tribes that were forcibly relocated to Oklahoma back in the day. Patrick, great actor. Michael, silly question. Polly, have you been eating gummy bears? Silly question. Bigfoot and Nons up in here. Welcome. Brandy's here. She says, I'm an Indian outlaw, half Cherokee and Choctaw. My baby, she's a Chippewa. She's a one of a kind. Yeah, I remember that song. Patrick Vaughn says, one of my ancestors was involved in the Treaty of Dancing Rabbit. Polly T is British. Brady says, Polly, sir, I'll say hi, but if you can't say it back, I understand. Don't want no trouble. Patrick, great job with the debate. Yeah. Was the one passed around the British prison ship? What the oh man. I caught running water in my hand. Polly chip. I ran that mogo. A good drunk, a ground drunk. What? Let's see. Scanning through. I'm way behind, so I'm sorry. I can't. Jen's here. Welcome. Lester's here. Welcome. So if I miss anybody, chat's kind of on the move here. Hey, you back? Those are the same as the Italian saying swimming with the fishes. Jersey Devil, what? Did somebody call you the Jersey Devil? Let's see. Yep, Michael's here. That's because I'm here and I like to comment a lot just to keep the chat moving. But like so they seem to follow both sides arguing about six what? To mess with me? Got a problem, sir? No, ma'am. Y'all be sorry for ignoring me when I run away, Lester. No, nobody's ignoring you. How dare you elder abuse me? Yeah, how dare you? Had a toothache. Patrick Vaughn said, no problem, Brandy. Keep on chatting. May have possibly swallowed some alcohol because nothing was helping. Joe's here. Western New York Bigfoot Investigation Group. Says, hey guys, long time no see. Welcome, Joe. Miss Thing. Brandy says, Mr. Lockbeard won't be happy to hear that. Sorry, fuck pain. I don't need AA. That's all right, Brandy. Gave you a free pass on SOR last night. What, you were there? LOL. Ida Bustamante. Hello. Welcome to the chat. Dave get mad last night. I haven't watched SOR for a long time. Too much obvious, just BS artist on there for my taste. Tons of hearts for you, Ida. So what happened after that? Some women said they were attacked and beaten while walking at night by a beast that looked like a baboon with a horned head, which sounds a little different than the other accounts, but could be the same thing. That was 1884. Apparently, during the 60s uprising in Detroit, the thing was seen a few times before that. You know, the race riots and stuff like that. So again, you know, does that mean it's an omen, or maybe, you know, I don't know. It was seen beforehand though, but there, you know, there was things going on, and so maybe they were hanging around to see what was happening. But I guess one witness said that the thing was doing backflips and cartwheels down 12th Street. uh, I don't know. So in 1976, two utility workers saw this thing climbing up a utility pole before the one of the worst snowstorms that they have ever had. Uh, well, just before. It was just before the snowstorm. So again, how do we know that it had any kind of? Was it really prophetic? Was it an omen? We don't know that. Maybe they just happened to see it. So it was seen apparently in 1996 when two witnesses leaving a nightclub saw this thing, and they described it as wearing a old fur coat, like a tattered old fur coat. So it gets me back to where some people thought it was covered in fur. Maybe they wear furs. So some people they misinterpret what they saw. Maybe it's dark out. Maybe they were drunk. There's all kinds of things that, or maybe your mind's just playing tricks on you. So maybe you didn't understand what you were seeing entirely. So if assuming the accounts of this thing are at least for the most part real, I lean towards the idea that this is a type of people that wears furs, and that they're not actually covered in fur. They just wear fur clothing. And they said it made a sound similar to a crow. In 2017, there was a Redditor that talked about two accounts of this thing. And so I will read what this Redditor said. This is it here. These two stories came from two people who knew nothing of the other. My great aunt says when she was little, she seen a gnome on several occasions. It would stare at her and even followed her. The last time she seen it was at a funeral home, and it wanted her to go into a cellar, and she felt it was evil by then. When she told me and my sister this story as an old woman, she looked disturbed and says she has carried a cross ever since. My sister and I were very young, so we didn't really get many details. One regret I have is not finding out more. My family believed her, at least believed she had thought she seen it. No one is alive that would have any more information about her sighting/encounter. The next person to tell me a related account was my close friend's older sister. She said she was chased by an evil little creature at her bus stop. She described it as a gnome, and my friends would clown on her about it. And now that I'm older and more mature and very much interested in the supernatural, I regret not listening to her. She had a hard time even talking about it or when we would joke about it. She said it was very small, smaller than she was as an 8-year-old girl. It had white fur and a pointy red hat. So in this case, she describes it as having white fur. But I'd be willing to bet, assuming that her story is real, that this thing was wearing a white fur coat, or just wearing white fur. But that's what some Redditor said. Again, all these are just accounts, and we can't really confirm any of this stuff. But for the sheer number, you kind of wonder. Let me catch up in chat here. Yep, Joe's here. Joe says, I got a super talented artist doing a workup of what Rasta looked like. The show I did with him has 1,141 views. Awesome. So saith Brandy as well. When he is done with it, I'm going to do a reveal show so you guys can kind of see what I saw. Awesome. Brandy says, I saw the one drawing you shared before, Joe. Did you draw that one? He says, yeah, Brandy, that sucked and really looked like nothing like Rasta. Jen says, looking forward to it, Joe. Rasta in almost living color. Brandy says, it did not suck, but I'm excited for you to have a more lifelike one. Yeah, that'd be interesting to see. If you could get them to get close to what you actually saw, that would be interesting to look at. Paulie T says, Joe should have had it in Braille. Could have been easier to detect. Joe, I'd like to do that as well. Joe says, I'm commissioning him to do it, Patrick. Michael says, never follow a gnome anywhere. Yeah, it's probably not a good idea. Assuming they're real. Jen says, Patrick and Joe, maybe you can get one done by Larry Batson too. Michael says, unless the place has a neon sign that says cold beer. Where are the gnomes going? Actually, in Detroit, they have a beer that they've named after the Nain Rouge. See if I can find what it's called. It's called Detroit Dwarf Lager. Joe says, no disrespect to Larry Jen, but this guy, Memphis Black, is leagues above him. Yeah, good, cool. We have a really good artist impression of what you saw. Jen says, Joe, I saw that show. He is amazing. Michael says, Jen, you told me I was amazing. Mr. Lee says, Barry was good on Bigfoot Odyssey. I was good tonight. I didn't call it the other thing. So, what's going on now in Detroit? They have a parade every year. Where they're trying to drive. It's what's it called? Hold on a second. Let me see if I can find what it's called. The March du Nain Rouge, where they're trying to drive off the Nain Rouge for another year. So they make an effigy of him, and they burn it to get rid of him for another year, right? Some people would call this a form of magic. There may be something real going on there. Just, playing devil's advocate here. Assuming the thing is real, and what these people are doing is a magical act to get rid of it. Even though, it's not magic to me. It's something that can be explained in a more scientific way. But I mean, so what I'm saying is there could actually be something to this. Now, there's even like they're not like serious protester, like super serious, like, you know, it's not like some protests where things are real serious. It's kind of a lighthearted thing. These protesters show up to protest the parade because in favor of the Nain Rouge. There's a picture. I'm sure there's some other pictures, but I'll show this picture. Wikipedia has this picture of this protester. I'll pop this up on the screen. It's kind of funny. Just a second. So, yeah. Be nice to Nain. Stop Nain shame. That's hilarious. Mr. Lee flying the flag. Okay, Jen, Knives Out. Lester says, Papa Craig's here. Welcome. Just stopping by to say hi and hit the thumb before the game starts. Gotcha. Joe says Nain Rouge equals Red Dwarf. Red Dwarf equals one good swift kick. And that dude is booted the hell out of town. What's the big problem? Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if it really can cause problems for people, you may not want to mess with it. I mean, you know, if the story of Cadillac is real, and if the interpretation of some of it is that, you know, the fortune teller told him he would build a great city, and that he needed to show Nain Rouge some respect, but then when he saw one, he hit it over the head with a cane, according to his own account. He hit it on the head with a cane, told to get out of here, and then, well, you know, Cadillac's life did not go good after that. So, on the off chance that Nain Rouge did have something to do with what happened to Cadillac, probably don't want to fuck with the Nain Rouge. But on the other hand, he could have just, because he was convinced of it somewhere in his head, that he kind of caused his own downfall. You know, maybe that's a possibility. Patrick Vaughn says, often truth is stranger than fiction. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. So, you know, so what could this thing possibly be from my thoughts? What's the plausible explanation if we entertain the idea that the thing is real? Well, some of the descriptions, I mean, the descriptions in general is this is like a small type of person. You know, it's described as reddish, usually described as wearing furs or being furry. So what I'm going to say is just a possible explanation for what it really is. Of course, then we got also why don't we see bodies of these things? Why aren't bodies found? So I don't know. I'm not sure where to start with this, but I'm just gonna dive in and try to make it come together and seem like some kind of cohesive something here. Michael says, I had a Chihuahua that had 2 Cadillacs. What? Pop Craig, 1 bourbon, 1 scotch, 1 beer, says Polly T. Mr. Lee says, we built this city on rock and roll. 1 on each eye. Sparky like shampoo, wash, rinse, repeat. Decomposition. Are you talking about, why we don't see bodies? Yeah, but you would think that we would see, 1 set of bones somewhere. If there's an entire race of these things out there. Because, I mean, it's like, like with Bigfoot, there's still people out there that think that Bigfoot is a legend of this one individual thing out there. They don't understand, they don't pay enough attention to this entire thing to understand that we're talking about an entire race of forest people. They still think it's just one anomalous entity. And so when we look at something like this, something that has accounts, people have claimed to see the Nain Rouge over centuries. I'm thinking in terms of this isn't just this one mischievous spirit hanging out, that we're talking about a race of entities or a race of people. So I'm approaching it from that idea. Lonesome George. Sasquatch bury their dead. I'm convinced of that. Yeah, I think they very possibly did. And if they are, look, like, I know you've heard me say, I think that the morphological characteristics are more than enough to conclusively say that this thing is almost certainly a race of humans, which means they are intelligent and people think that just if and of course when I say that, I'm sure a lot of people are out there, why don't they have cars and buildings? Well, if you're a race of people that specializes culturally and perhaps even genetically in your behavioral complement in staying out of sight of our race, you're not going to build buildings, and if they're as in touch with nature as I think they are, I mean, which they obviously have to be, maybe they see what we do to the world as an evil act. Like, we are destructive to our ecosystem. They apparently are not. They live naturally. And there's some people that choose that way on purpose, even though they don't have to. They can, even coming out of our culture, they choose to live in a more natural way and not be so destructive to the earth. These things could easily be as intelligent or more intelligent than us and not have any technology. Just because you don't have technology doesn't mean you're stupid. So all that's leading up to, not only do I think it's more than reasonable to think that they bury their dead, I think it's even reasonable to think that they have even more advanced means of hiding their dead that they utilize to make sure that their dead aren't found very often by us. Because apparently they want to stay out of sight of us. And I think that's a wise thing to do, actually. Every time humans find something, they kill it. Okay, we kill all kinds of stuff. I mean, now we have, conservation efforts and stuff, and we try to preserve endangered species. But historically, we like to kill every damn thing. We even found a way to jump in a canoe with a spear and go kill freaking whales. We went, we're brutal killers. We have the capability. These forest people have to know that, and they have to know that it's very wise to just not be detected by us at all. So one possible idea that I think that they may do, I mean, I have no evidence of this, but there's many possibilities of what they could do. They may know of means to chemically dissolve bones. You know, they may totally be able to accomplish that task in the wild, and no one ever know. Dispose of the results in a river, and there are no bones. There is nothing left. But maybe less technical than that, or which that's not that technical if you think about it. Um, but let's say they, like some humans, consume their dead. Maybe they consume the flesh of their dead to get rid of them, or maybe they think in terms of, like, there's a tribe that thinks that they are showing respect to the dead, I think, and then there was some other people, like, they're taking in their power or something like that. There was been different beliefs behind it, but let's say they consume the flesh and then they grind the bones with stones into a powder, completely destroy the bones, and then with rocks, and then dump that powder into a river. You're never going to find bones. They don't have to be very smart to figure out to do that, especially when they clearly could have easily observed us many times digging up the bones of things. So there's a number of possibilities of why we have a hard time finding bones of these things. Lizards, frogs, and cryptids, oh my. Good at hiding, yep. Joe says, what I saw was more human than ape. I'm still thinking Homo erectus was an ancestor to them. Yeah. Well, I don't know if you've heard me say before. I think modern mainstream anthropology is wrong, classifying Homo erectus as a separate species as us. I think they're absolutely wrong about that. I think that Homo erectus, if you were to get complete DNA from a Homo erectus and use it to resurrect Homo erectus, to bring one, yes, it would have a smaller brain than us and it would look a little different from us, but I think that it would be able to breed freely with us as the same species as us. That the speciation point occurred well before Homo erectus. That Homo erectus is just another version of our same species. It isn't genetically. Can't prove that, but again, it would take a long time to kind of go into all the reasoning behind that. But again, that adds to why I think Sasquatch is the same species as us. Michael says that guilt's getting to, ain't it? What? Lester says Mother Nature put a no contact order out on Jen. She keeps touching her in the wrong places. What the? You can't ignore supernatural shit with Sasquatch, though. Well, I mean, I do, because some people's accounts are just so ridiculous that I'm like, dude, we can't just, like Joe's encounter. He just saw the fucking thing. He didn't see any weird shit that I recall from his encounter. It isn't like a Dr. Matt Johnson account where, damn, he saved planet Sasquatch, right? And portals and shit like that. Ain't crazy shit like that. But I'm about to get into something a little weird about that in a little bit in regards to Nain Rouge, which is also transferable to Sasquatch to an extent. Polly T says, good night, chat and Lock. I've paid my dues time after time. I've done my sentence, but committed no crime. And bad mistakes I've made. Enough this crew. On that note, I bid y'all a farewell and adieu. See you later. Polly? Papa Craig says, if they bury their bodies in our acidic forest over here, they will not become a fossil. Exactly. If they understand even the most basic chemistry, they may be able to purposely dissolve bones. You know, Michael says, Jin chose a man who was better with his pencil over me. That's exactly right, Papa Craig, says Joe. Jen says, Lester, you're confused. That's you with the no contact order. Lester says, oh, yeah, would you please lift that one for me? Mr. Lee says, Polly, I can't say goodbye because you will be back in 5 minutes. Joe says, but there have been Homo erectus skulls found that have the same capacity as ours. One, I believe, was 1700 cc. They kept evolving over the 2 million years of existence. Yeah. And what I would say also when it comes to cranial capacity, humans today don't all have the same, and I can't really say certain things about that because it's not PC to say some of this shit, but it's freaking real and it's a fact. But that variable cranial capacity, it's a real thing. And also I think is really interesting is Neanderthals had more cranial capacity than we do. The entire idea that Neanderthals were just this knuckle dragging brutes is probably so far off base that because they've discovered new things about their culture and stuff that indicates that in the eyes of many people now, anthropologists and whatnot, that they are a little more advanced than they thought. Because you guys are assuming, look, Europeans contain the DNA of Neanderthals. We know that they bred with us in very recently. It isn't like it isn't even like a million years ago. It's very recent. They were coexisting with us on the planet. And then what we think of is our ancestors moved into Europe and found that the Neanderthal people were already there for 200,000 years, I think it was. They'd already been there. And then they vanished, right? Except they didn't really entirely vanish. Surely there were some conflicts and a lot of death and stuff like that. But we now know that they got blended into our kind of people, so that now it's just a small percentage of them left in us, but it's in us. That proves fact. Neanderthals were the same species as us. They could, if they were a separate species, they could not have bred with us and not had issues like when you see with a lion and a tiger, where they are almost the same species, but they're different enough that they can't breed and produce an offspring that is a reasonable combination of the two. If you have a dog that's 30 pounds and it mates with a dog that's 50 pounds, the offspring are going to be on average 40 pounds, for example. That doesn't happen with lions and tigers because they're just different enough that they're not quite the same species anymore. And because of that, the offspring ends up, there's a growth issue. I can't remember what causes the issue, but it ends up being way bigger than either parent. So that, to me, is where you start drawing that line of where you're a separate species now. Species is defined as a group of organisms that can interbreed normally and not have any problems. So now that we know that Neanderthals bred with us and blended into us, we know that Neanderthals were the same species as us. I mean, that's smoking gun in the story. I don't know why mainstream anthropology doesn't change the name. It should now be called Homo Sapiens, perhaps. Because I don't think we're going to change our name to Homo Neanderthalensis, but they probably, the most logical thing to rename it to is Homo Sapiens subspecies Neanderthalensis, which is basically the same as it's a race of, it's saying a race. Subspecies is basically the same as saying race, right? We just don't refer to ourselves that way, but yeah. But I don't think Sasquatch originated with Neanderthals at all. I don't really know for sure where they originated exactly, but there does, I don't know, there does appear, from the accounts that they have either a Native American or a Caucasian appearance. There does appear that there may be some connection there, but we need a lot more information before we can figure that out. Joe says Homo sapiens almost went extinct. Yep, that was the Toba disaster. There was a bottleneck, and the population was only a few thousand worldwide. How did they avoid extinction? Breeding with other hominids. I think there was that was some of what happened. There's another issue, like, because man, I'm not going to have enough time. Involving Homo Floresiensis, which again, they've named it as if it's a separate species. It existed up until about 15,000 years ago. I think I've talked about this some before on the channel. But Homo floresiensis, I do not think was a separate species at all. They try to say, well, they resembled Homo. I think they said they resembled Homo erectus, but just like a small version, like they were like 3 feet tall and stuff like that. No. I don't think they just went extinct. Some shit happened about that time in history. But I don't want to get off subject too much. But yeah. But yeah, there was some of that, but yeah, you're right. I think there was a little bit of that, but the fact that we bred with these others proves that the others were the same species as us. Michael Haywood says, I thought you abandoned me again. Like when you left me with the salvation. What the hell? Mr. Lee says, Sasquatch people look like us and we have seen them. Yeah. Okay, so I'm not going to be able to do too much of this justice. Going back to field theory, the explanation of how the universe actually functions and what the spiritual realm actually is, and so I don't know how to put this together and say, like we know that there's certain wavelengths of light we can't perceive, right? There are things in the universe that we completely can't perceive. If you want to understand some of the science behind this, all I can tell you is you need to put in the time, and you need to. And the best place I know I can send you, because I don't know of anyone else really there's I mean, you can look at some of the, old stuff, Tesla and Heaviside and Steinmetz and all those people. They don't even put everything together necessarily. You can look at some of the ancients and what some of them said, but that you're not going to be able to really. But Kim Wheeler puts it all together, and so what I'm saying is this isn't a magical thing, but people in general would probably look at it as a magical thing because they don't understand how it's possible that something can be right here, a living thing can be right here with you, and you can't see it or touch it, but it fits with how the universe actually functions. And so now we have to ask: is it possible that something can exist that has the ability to enter into our visual range for a short time? Like normally it's outside our visual range, but it has the ability either through an evolutionary process or maybe it learned to be able to do this somehow, to enter into our visual range. And maybe it's something like so when the Nain Rouge shows up, right, it's coming from somewhere beyond our perceptual range. It's a real thing, it's alive, but it's always here. But in order for it to perceive stuff going on here, it has to exert some kind of will or whatever to enter into our visual range so that we are within its visual range, and then so it can observe something here. So we see it, it sees us, and then it seems to disappear, and people think it's a spirit. Just this is just a possible explanation for why people see the thing and why it may appear to disappear to us, and we don't understand why. And then it possible explanation. And so it don't even exist here, like physically, really. So we're not going to find bones of something, you know. Maybe the only maybe it has to be, you know, consciously, like it's exerting some kind of effort to be within our visual range. Just like so as soon as it stops exerting an effort, it would automatically just go back to where it would disappear from visual range. It's still there, but it's outside our frequency range, where we can touch, you know, or see, which it may not even enter into where we can touch. But some of the accounts say that there's things that it's doing that where it's, you know, like stealing chickens and stuff like that. So this is just a possible explanation. You know, like it can't get stuck here is what I'm saying. Like if it's got to exert certain amount of effort to be here, be visible here, then it's just like you don't find dead birds just floating in the sky. The bird's got to exert a certain amount of effort to be in the sky and fly, but as soon as it stops flapping its wings, it's on the ground, and that's its baseline. So what I'm saying is the Nain Rouge baseline may be somewhere outside, but when it's flapping its wings to enter into our physical realm, not literally wings, but that may be a potential explanation for what's going on there and why people think it's a spirit of some kind, because they can't physically touch it, right? Or they can't, or it seems to disappear. Like I said, there's these accounts where they do touch it, so there may be an ability to shift over. Maybe you can't shift over in that circumstance and not become physical to us during that time. You know, Cadillac said he whacked the thing upside the head with a freaking cane. So I'm just trying to come up with some potential ideas to explain, you know, what people have seen and experienced with this thing. I know mainstream science has nothing, you know. They would immediately dismiss this entirely. Um, but if it is something like what I'm trying to describe and doing very badly at, we're not going to find much in the way of evidence. Our our best bet is photographic. I wish I had time to go out looking for some shit like this. You know, like, and the Pukwudgie is another example. Gnomes, leprechauns, all these things. You know, it's so prevalent that either it's just uh, a very tenacious cultural idea, or it's a real race of things that exist in different places and they look a little different from place to place, just like we do. You know, we look a little different from place to place too. Why shouldn't they? You know, so they may be an entire race of these dwarfish humans, and I think it's completely within the realm of possibility. But finding proof of such a thing would be very difficult, and you know, it I don't think it proving that they exist may, I don't know if it will ever be something that can really be scientifically done. Like, if you see one and there's just no mistaking what you saw, now you're going to believe it. But that may be the best we can hope for with that. Some of this may cross over with Bigfoot. There may be the possibility that Bigfoot can, in fact, disappear. But as far as evidence of that, I don't know if we'll ever be able to present that. Michael says, kids, be careful when an adult asks you if you want to play Army. Yeah. Papa Craig says, Michael, where were you 53 years ago? Joe says, I've looked right at a deer and didn't see it because it wasn't moving and it blended so well with its environment. Same reason Sasquatch can do it. Yeah, it may be entirely that. It may be. Um, you know, it's just been so good at staying out of our way. You know, so if it's completely just flesh and blood, it doesn't phase into other frequencies some of the time. It's got to be at least as intelligent as us. I just, it's got to be smart enough to pull this game off. And if a stupid deer can hide that well, because I've seen that shit. I've seen it. And most people aren't paying attention as well as you are, probably. You're out there actually looking for stuff. A lot of people are just kind of just bebopping along, and they're going to notice things even less. I was in a vehicle just a couple days ago. There was a deer standing perfectly still by the side of the road. It's mowed grass. I saw it. The other people in the car totally did not see that deer. It was right there, wide open. standing perfectly still, and they were just distracted by other shit and totally didn't see it. Pup Craig says, and I was worried about that deer too. I was like, that deer's thinking about jumping across this road. That'd be bad. Pop Craig says, they told me I had to follow a bunch of guys who dress alike over to an ancient civilization and kill them. What? It does get stuck here, though, Lockbeard. We are all stuck here. Well, and that's another possibility that maybe you have something that isn't able to go back and forth between our frequency range where we can interact physically and visually and audibly, and you gotta think of things in these frequencies, right? So if we're here in this frequency range, the physical, the visual, the audible, and these things exist over here, but sometimes they can shift over. But maybe it's not something that they just a power within them. Maybe it's just knowing how to navigate through some kind of anomaly, some kind of electromagnetic blah blah blah, whatever. Fill in whatever Star Trek bullshit line of technical mumbo jumbo you want to put in there. So maybe they got to be at a certain place where there's like an eddy current of some kind in the field, and they can then go through. That one could call a portal to another world, but it's right here, So you're right. Maybe they need to be in a certain place. So if they get caught too far away, they may have to run or whatever and try and hide until they can get to a particular location where they can jump through. Like Harry Potter, got to get to the damn port key. Can't just teleport from anywhere necessarily. Although they did it in some places in those movies, but some of them seem to have the magic to do it, but. Paul Craig says, yeah, Joe, I've seen a lot of invisible magic deer. Sorry, I forgot we were talking about kicking red dwarfs. Yeah, funny how magical they are, huh, Paul Craig? Yeah, I smoked some red dwarf, says Michael. Paul Craig says, never kick as your first move in a fight. You'll hurt your foot and not be able to run away. Joe says, I was wondering who Alice was. Sorry, wrong chat. Joe, tell us more about Alice. What? Michael says a deer can sit stock still forever almost. Yeah. Mr. Lee says, I'll look for it and I find it. Cool. Joe says, Michael, who the fuck is Alice? Song reference, you may not get it. Papa Craig says, when out archery hunting, my son and I wear camo and sit still about 40 or 50 yards apart. If we don't move, nothing sees us. Yeah. Yeah. Even humans. Prairie Fire says portals and conferences both have ruined the integrity of research into Bigfoot. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not pushing portals. I'm just, just throwing a potential possible thing. What I'm asking, people out there to do is, like, if you claim there's portals, find a way to prove that there's portals. I think it's within the realm of possibility that such a thing could exist, but we need proof of these things. So when a person comes forward saying, all this portal stuff. It's like, well, we haven't seen an example of anything using portals, so you would think we would find something by now, not necessarily Sasquatch, but maybe some other creature. But we don't. But what we do see, as Joe was saying, is deer sitting perfectly still, and then people don't freaking see it, even if it's right there in front of them. Mr. Lee says, Papa Craig, how long do you have to sit still for? Until they see something they can shoot, Mr. Lee. And they won't stop. Yeah. Prairie Fire says the bullshit just keeps getting deeper and deeper each week. Yeah. There are some people, and there's a lot of people that are just willing to just keep eating it up. Just keep eating up the bullshit. There's so many people willing to come get their 5 minutes of fame. I saw this and this is what happened, and maybe add their own little element to try and make their story unique somehow, and then adds to the myth instead of adding to our collective knowledge. Muddying the waters, and I don't like that. I'm interested in finding the truth of things. Those people, some people say, how does this affect you? Why are you worried about it? I was like, because it hurts human knowledge. It hurts the advancement of humanity. And what's worse is if humanity does not advance enough before a disaster adequate to render us extinct arrives, and we're not able to overcome that disaster, people doing that shit actually put our species at risk of extinction, is what I'm saying. So I take that as an attack. People muddying the waters of truth and science are trying to kill me and don't even know it. They just think they're spinning bullshit and having a good laugh or making some money selling some book full of bullshit. No, you are putting me at risk of death and our species at risk of extinction. We need to get our shit together and move forward and become advanced enough to be able to survive whatever kind of disasters come our way. So don't think that just because you're spinning bullshit that I don't have a right to be pissed off about it. I damn well have a reason to be pissed off about it. And you're holding us back. You're muddying the water. We have trick size. Papa Craig says, as long as we can, Mr. Lee, about 14 seconds for me, a long time for him. Joe says, describe the physics of portal. Where does it start? What is its power source? How is it generated? Yeah, I mean, those are good questions. I mean, well, I'm just trying to speculate based on field theory. I'm not talking about any kind of mainstream science bullshit with Einstein's nonsense and freaking, all this quantum physics bullshit. Quantum physics is bullshit. I'm talking about, field theory, which, doesn't require grand unification because it's already one. The physical and the metaphysical is already explained as one thing. Kim Wheeler describes it as two sides to the same coin. It's still one coin. And mainstream science can't explain shit when it comes to this. I'm pro science all the way, but the problem is quantum physics has gone off on this tangent over here, and then every time they can't explain something, they try to come up with because everything's a damn particle to them. They have to try and explain everything with a particle, so that's why when it comes to like gravity, I think they're calling it virtual photons or some bullshit like that. Well, they claim these things exist, these physical particles exist, but they haven't proven they exist at all. Like electrons, there is not an electron particle. There is a fucking thing that we are looking at or understanding and seeing the effects of, but it's not a particle. But we're dealing with these atomists, right? Everything's got to be a particle, and since they can't get all the explanation of the universe from the particles they know, they're over here with these particle colliders and shit, trying to smash shit together that isn't particles, thinking it's particles, to discover what tinier particles make up those particles. And then of course there's money and there's grants and there's egos involved, and it's just a big freaking mess. And they still can't achieve grand unification. Why? Because the puzzle pieces that they've created are wrong to start with. Of course, they're not going to fit together. I mean, there is so much wrong with this bullshit. Of course, your average person, it can't, they're not interested in this shit enough to learn enough about it to start picking apart and figuring out where the problems are with this bullshit. They don't have time for that. They got to go to a job. They got to look after the kids. They got to pay rent. So anyway, portal. So if you understand things in the terms of fields, you might start to see how potentially there's a way to I'm not going to be able to explain, for a thing to come from what we call you might call it another dimension. I don't like that word. It's not the best way to describe it. Everything is here. There's no multiverse. Like the way mainstream science is like, well, there's got to be a multiverse. No, that's you guys misinterpreting the fucking data. Because they're like, oh, the math and blah 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 shows there's got to be like all these other. No, there is one goddamn universe, but most of it we cannot even perceive. It's all right here. It's part of things. So you might perceive it as another world, but it's really the same damn world. But I what I was describing earlier is maybe a natural phenomena. Like I don't know how to let the best like jumping in a whirlpool and being able to navigate it safely to a cave under the ocean or some shit. Although maybe it's possible to develop some technology to create such a thing, such a thing artificially, but I don't know for sure that that's within the realm of possibility. But that's for the people claiming they're like, there's definitely portals. Well, look, come up with some kind of evidence for portals. Fuck. Don't get mad if we don't believe you that you saw a freaking Bigfoot jump out of a portal. Prairie Fire says it won't stop till it's all a complete laughing stock. Well, we're getting there. Prairie Fire says the problem is they take fantasy and pertain to it as real with no proof. Bad enough proof of the species is spotty at best. Jimmy Boy's here. Welcome. Joe says, well, I think Ron Moorhead had his cheese slide off his cracker when he went all quantum Bigfoot stuff. Definitely, because I think maybe he's trying to think in the right lines, but he's utilizing mainstream science. So, and since, as I said a while ago, quantum is wrong. It's just fucking wrong. Not that they don't make plenty of correct observations. Their interpretations are wrong, and they've been building a narrative, just like the Bigfoot community. Some people are building this other narrative over here, and the narrative is freaking wrong. They're misinterpreting their observations. And so if you're trying to understand Bigfoot through quantum physics, you're not you're not going to understand shit because the quantum physics is wrong. But at least he's trying to understand it scientifically instead of it's a ghost or it's a Nephilim. All that bullshit we hear. But hey, ghosts might be legit. I don't know. I'm not buying the Nephilim bullshit though. But there's definitely ghosts of humans, and if Sasquatch is human too, I don't see any reason why there can't be a ghost Sasquatch spotted at times. I'm totally on board with that because we can show that there is spiritual. I hate the word spiritual, but disembodied people. We now have technologies that is starting to be able to detect disembodied people. I mean, I don't even know why it's even a big question anymore. We can do it, and I mean, we're not. It's not within the norm. You're not supposed to normally be able to perceive those things, but circumstances lead to that, and people perceiving these things, and these disembodied people, they're hanging around when they really need to be moving on and stuff like that. But anyway, so as far, I think occasionally people might be seeing the spirit of a Sasquatch, which that may explain disappearing. So it's not jumping down a portal, it's not teleporting, it's not cloaking like Predator, it's just a ghost. Well, now okay, but people see it, and if they're assuming they're seeing, if they see it disappear and then they assume what they saw disappear was a physical living Sasquatch, well, there might be a problem. They've assumed something that they don't really know. So Mr. Lee says, I have seen the weirdness. Can you explain all the weirdness? I cannot. Well, what weirdness have you seen? You personally seen some what weirdness have you seen? That woo. Joe says, just because you can't explain it, Mr. Lee, doesn't mean there isn't a logical answer. Yeah. Papa Craig says, I have to agree there are all kinds of things in this universe that we can't perceive. Timmy Boy says, Rick and Morty are always in the multiverse. Yeah. Michael says, Mr. Lee, there are some things no one can explain. Joe, there is no logical answer. Well, there might be a logical answer. It's just something you don't know about, right? Like, what if you jumped in a helicopter, you time travel to 50,000 BC, and you land in a field in front of a tribe of Stone Age people? There is no logical answer to that shit for that people, right? There's no logical answer for that shit. So, I mean, you got to realize that just as there's shit that they don't know anything about technology. They don't know that it's possible for humans to fucking fly in a giant dragonfly. So there's no logical answer to that for them. Other than explaining it through magic or the spirits or, their gods, whatever, or that's some weird looking bird that landed and regurgitated these humans, that's the best they can do. And so there is also going to be some things that you don't have a logical answer for yet. Humanity may not have a logical answer for it yet. So just consider that as advanced as we are, we don't know everything. We're never going to know everything until you die. You know, once the entity that you really are is disengaged from a physical body, you are reconnected to the, for lack of a better term, the consciousness of the entire universe, the all that exists. And so when that happens, you will then know everything, because you're part of everything, and everything knows everything, right? I know that's weird, but it's yeah. Who the fuck is Alice? Michael says, but some people have to have a textbook explanation for everything, and that's impossible. Yeah. Joe says again, Mr. Lee, just because you don't know what it is doesn't mean there isn't one. Prairie Fire says, and then next thing they start talking about Dog Man. Yeah. A Dog Man pusher showed earlier. I don't know if you noticed. Likes to dip in here and put a couple dots in the chat. I don't know why he does that. I guess he thinks he's funny. Dog Man bullshit. What the fuck? Timmy Boy says, "Hey Bones, thanks for letting everyone know I was just asked a question. More complete fantasy bullshit. Yeah, Dog Man. Yeah, what? I just people, probably saw wolves or some shit. I don't know, and just didn't know. They don't know experience with such a thing. Just mind just filled in the blanks. Definitely a bunch of people just making that shit up. Part of the entertainment side of all this, and they should be called that. They're not legit. They're not science oriented. They aren't logical. Sandra says, Lockbeard just got notification CFB will be on in 24 minutes. Awesome. We will endeavor to wrap her up in a few minutes, and everyone can go over to CFB, Central Florida Bigfoot, where I believe the people are genetically programmed to be alarmed by pirates. Pirates have long plagued the shores of Florida. So when you go over there and you fly that pirate flag, they'll be on their toes. Uncle Bone says, Team Boy, no problem. I have had the BS in that chat before, all the brainiacs, until you ask them something. Joe says, people used to think it was impossible to travel faster than the speed of sound, too. Yeah. If you ask quantum physics, you can't travel faster than the speed of light. They got all kinds of weird shit. So, look, even Einstein called it spooky action at a distance because he didn't understand what the fuck. How the hell? Because think about it. I mean, I don't know if y'all are familiar with that whole thing, but it's proof that information is traveling instantaneously across space. Quantum physics can't explain that shit, but field theory does just fine. And, these guys are not going to, they're so locked into the quantum physics narrative that they can't get out. They're stuck. One of these days, it's just going to get busted wide open, and they're all going to have to admit, look, we fucked up. We started out with this story, and we kept doubling down on the story and trying to force it to work. but finally we got busted. Like, we could not achieve granted unification because we were fucking wrong. And I will be sitting here just laughing at them. I'd be like, look, there's some of us out here that know. We know you're wrong. We know quantum physics is fucked. It's a complete misinterpretation of the whole freaking universe. You guys are making good observations. You just, you see this shit and you're like, space time, quantum foam, dark matter. These all come from misinterpretations of what their observations are, in the process of trying to double down on the narrative that they've been building on. They need to go back to this. Like, the double slit experiment is it's like the whole thing is like the double slit experiment. Exactly. That they went in there thinking, okay, we're going to prove if it's a particle or a wave, but then they were getting results of both, depending on observation or non-observation. You get particle results or wave results. And so instead of saying, well, maybe we were wrong, maybe it's neither, they didn't do that. They said, well, fuck, well, maybe it's both. Well, it can't be both, dumbasses. It can't. For starters, you're acting like a wave is a fucking thing. It's not. It's an action. It's what something does. It's not a thing. But whatever, man. You don't want me to get going down that rabbit hole, do you? Prayer Fire says, explain the woo and attendance at conferences will be halved. Yeah. Yeah, it's a big money-making thing, man. There's money in perpetuating the woo because there's a bunch of people that want that magic. So I don't know how we deal with that. Like, if they want to do that, okay, fine. But like, we need to have some kind of clear dividing line. That's why I did the show where I was talking about like paranormal high council. So we have a group of people who, we all trust to ascertain if something falls within the realm of logical reasoning or if it falls into the bullshit side. And so maybe, this is made up of people like Steenberg or Anderson, maybe some others. These are our Mace Windows and our Yodas, and they may say, okay, well, this month we're going to look at this channel over here. There's a YouTube channel over here, and they're talking about, ghosts. Well, best we can tell, they don't do anything scientific over here. It looks like they perpetuate all kinds of bullshit, and we're not going to put our stamp of approval on it. So now we have a record, right, that they have assessed that channel, and they don't put their stamp of scientific, logical approval on it. I think there could be some value to something like that going down. They would find that a threat because if it goes as far as I would like it to see, it would be to a point where if someone's coming into, maybe they saw Bigfoot and they want to get legit information, they find out that this organization, this paranormal high council, or whatever the fuck we call it, is the people that ascertain, who discern, what's bullshit and what's not. They'll start to be looked as an authority on that. So these people can look at that and say, okay, well, they've given a list of channels that seem to be sticking to logic. Stick to the facts, nothing but the facts, Steenberg style, right? But Timmy Boy says they dance all over the place and then say, I just wanted attention. It's all about you. Patrick wants a what? Mr. Lee says, you must consider that many Sasquatch encounters has involved woo. Are they all lying? No. I mean, there may be some. Or or they are mistaken of what they've seen. The mind plays funny tricks on you. Let's say, like, if you're out in the woods and you see that fucking thing, you might black out for a moment. And in that moment, the Bigfoot dives into the bush, right? And then once you get your wits about you and you're like, where'd it go? It's gone. You could totally miss a few moments there and think that it just vanished. And so now it becomes woo to you, but what really happened is you kind of blacked out for a second. Have you ever drank until you were blackout drunk? You're like, dude, I only remember parts of that night. It's totally it's totally more likely than some of these woo stories are. Joe says maybe it's Lee, or maybe they just don't understand what they are seeing. Yeah. Prairie Fire says lying and misunderstanding what's going on. Yep. Uncle Bon says yes. Turn it on and make you the bad guy. MK Ultra shit. Yeah. Prairie Fire says we haven't any evidence of Bigfoot, but yet we are already halfway out to space with how they get around. Yeah. I mean, that's why I think that, I think there's enough out there to say that they are there. It's just that they are, one, extremely elusive, two, just as intelligent or more intelligent than we are, and using time-tested techniques to stay outside of your average person, and three, because you can't hide from the government, right? But the government wants to hide them for some reason. So you got that situation going on. I can see how they're not proven to the public. Because if the government wants to hide something, and that something wants to hide itself as well, shit. Yeah, good luck finding it. Good luck finding such a thing. Life is Flyway. I don't know, Locke. Most of Florida are retirees from Ohio. Yeah. Prairie Fires, and of course, there's no proof. I hope so. I don't know which part you're referring to, but Tanny says, but Lockbeard, Rick and Morty wouldn't lie. Oh, fuck, Rick and Morty. Yep, no proof. Hey guys, hey Bet Mom. Get past that. I gotta try and catch up to chat and wrap this up. Life's Flyway says, I just want to know what's up with the freaking knocks. I don't know. Could just be the trees making sounds in the woods, man. I don't know. Papa Craig says, I've seen Sasquatch, and after over a year, no one can convince me what they are. You can hold your liquor. So you never been blackout drunk, huh? Joe says, I've only seen one in 43 years of investigation. So yeah, I have a hard time with people who say they see them all the time and have them borrow garlic from them. Yeah. And the amount of time, like, good luck keeping me out of the wood. Look, when I was a kid, like, there were several years I tried playing t-ball and stuff like that, like a normal little boy, but I'd end up in the outfield, and then I was looking out into the woods. I did not give a fuck about chasing a ball around a field. Zero fuck. So I always ended up quitting. I didn't care. I'd rather be out in the woods, running around out there, catching snakes or fishing or just collecting fossils. And I've spent a lot of time in the woods. I've never seen, I've told the story about the thing I saw on a farm when I was a kid, but I don't know what that was. And it wasn't standing upright. So I don't really count that. I don't know what it was. I can't say exactly what it was. I just know it wasn't any normal animal that should have been there. But yeah, that's funny. But I wasn't looking for Bigfoot. And then when I was a kid, I didn't care too much about that. I didn't think I was going to see that, So, I just wasn't looking out for Bigfoot. Bob Craig says, heard jillions of knocks, and I'm pretty sure Sasquatch make a bunch of them. Oh, yeah, Roll Tide. My kid knocks too. Hey, come to me, boy. Life's hard. But Joe, seriously, who wouldn't want some spare garlic? The Batman says maybe the ones who see them all the time are followed by something else and associating it to the cryptid. Yeah, that goes back to misinterpretation of what you're seeing or experiencing. I think there's possibly a lot of cases of that. So, experiencing. All right, everybody. Central Florida Bigfoot appears to be live. So let's wrap her up. Everybody go over there. Have a little Lockbeard raid on them. Fly the pirate flag. And all that good stuff. Life Slyway says garlic parietal deer legs. Delicious. All right, so I don't know if we solved anything. Just throwing out some theories on potentially what that thing, what the little red guy could be. I don't see any actual proof of it, or that any. I don't expect any to come. Me too, Batmom. See ya, Joe. Hopefully, I'll see some of y'all over at Central Florida Bigfoot. Thanks for coming out. Hopefully, I know some people were not liking some of the negative shit going down, so hopefully we avoided that. And I guess I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.